everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, looking sharp in that suit, is the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, coming to you live from right here at the AMC Movie News headquarters here in Burbank, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also here, AMC's Christian Harloff.
Oh, yeah. Just 2 more days. You know what I'm talking about. Paul Blart 2.
Also here, AMC's Christian Harloff.
Yes, nice.
He's here, too.
Got a double dose of Harloff. I don't wear a suit today, and everybody just doesn't even... It's like I don't even exist.
But you did have $60 beef jerky.
I had $60
I want to
jerky.
find out what the context of that is, because that sounds outrageous to me.
It's really
outrageous. Who buys $60 beef jerky?
This guy, and he eats it all in one road trip.
All right, so one of the reasons I am wearing this suit today is because this is the look of a man who has no idea how to fold a suit and put it into a suitcase, and therefore is just wearing it on the airplane. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, actually, me and most of the AMC Movie News crew today, we are heading out to Vegas later for the Academy of Web Television Awards, which are being held in Vegas tomorrow night. We're up for 3 awards. You can tune in and watch it live. I'll be putting up links on my social media where you can watch the live stream of that thing. So please tune in and cheer us on.
All right, back in November, it was announced that Game of Thrones and Better Call Saul director Michelle MacLaren would helm and develop the upcoming Wonder Woman film. However, it appears that Amazon will need a new director. It's been announced that Warner Brothers and MacLaren have parted ways over what they call creative differences. There is no word yet on MacLaren's replacement. Wonder Woman is currently scheduled to hit AMC theaters on June 23, 2017. John, is this a worrying development for Wonder Woman and the DC Cinematic Universe?
It's absolutely worrying. This is because this raises so many flags for me and so many question marks. Okay, first of all, you've got this director who has directed some of the best episodes of Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, now Better Call Saul, and several other shows. She's a terrific director. This is a woman who knows how to tell a story. That's terrific. This phrase creative differences, and from what I'm hearing, it goes beyond basic creative difference. Apparently, these two could not see eye to eye, Warner Brothers and her, on anything. And so the flag's raised for a couple of reasons. From one point of view, it concerns me that you have a director of this caliber and the studio is fighting her. Why? I mean, this lady clearly knows what she's doing. Why are you not seeing eye to eye with her? But the second big part of contention that I have with this is something that I find comes up with Warner Brothers a lot. And I've liked a lot of the moves Warner Brothers has made in the past year or so. But here's my other big thing. If you guys are on such polar opposite sides of things, how are you so stupid that you made the partnership in the first place? Like, seriously, do you not do any vetting? Did you guys not sit down and have coffee at least once? Like some rep at Warner Brothers and her, and get some kind of idea about where you want to go with this film? Are you guys so far apart and so clueless and so out of your minds that you just know what you do is like, her? Sure, yeah, come on board, and then find out if you're on the same page? How do you treat a property like Wonder Woman and not know if creatively you and this director are on the same page or not? Look, directors depart films sometimes. It happens once in a while over creative differences. We get it. But this was just November. And from what we're hearing, like, they agreed on nothing or whatever. So what were you doing during the hiring process in the first place? Either she was lying to you the whole time about what she wanted to do, or you weren't listening. Either way, I find this concerning. Doesn't mean the movie isn't going to be awesome when it comes out. Doesn't mean they're not going to get an even better director for the film. This could all turn out for the best, absolutely. But when I hear stories like this and the context in which it's in, yeah, I do find it really concerning. But Christian, tell me why I'm completely out of my mind and why I'm dead wrong.
I'm actually going on the other side of this because first of all, the reason why I don't think it's too worrisome is because we're about 2 years out. So it's going to give, in the practical side of things, it's going to give us enough time to find someone that they do find the same vision.
They do. Lots of time.
So in a time sense, it's not worrisome. Now, addressing what you had just said before, we kind of had this situation with Edgar Wright a tad, as far as going back to where this is who we want to hire, and then they come to realize we're on different sides of the path. Maybe not as explosive as maybe this situation is, but we also don't know what the plans are because of DC's universe. We don't know the creative team and the way that they're presenting this, and as Suicide Squad develops and now Batman v Superman starts to come out and more movies are planned out, or where it's going to. Maybe initially when they had those meetings and she said, oh, I have this. And then they said, well, we actually need it to go this way now because this is happening in the universe and she's not ready for the universe. this is all just coming up with the top of my head, but there are things that they might have. Kevin Tsujihara and the team might know exactly where they want to go, and I want to give them credit in how Marvel's doing it. You know, Marvel has set up their universe, knows the way they want to do it, has a timeline. That's why Edgar Wright didn't fit in. We don't know. Maybe this is that same situation. It could be something else entirely. But I just think, as far as the questions being, is it worrisome? No, because it's for me, and if it's Warner Brothers knows the creative team that they want, they brought on. They've been pretty good with directors so far with their choices.
Quite good.
So I kind of think that maybe that if they're like, maybe we should part ways here, and we can find somebody else that knows the vision that we want to go. I actually think it's okay.
I think it's a good example you bring up about the Edgar Wright thing. The one key difference, though, the one major difference, though, is in the Edgar Wright situation, from when they agreed to work with Edgar Wright on this and when he eventually left, was 5 years, with a lot of evolution over 5 years.
And
this was 4.5 months.
And the Marvel universe was completely different back then to what it.
Yeah, so it involved a lot. So my concern is, I totally agree with you. 2.5 years or 2 years, plenty of time to get another good director. My worry was just that, where is your head that from there to just now, you're realizing you're on such different pages. But very valid point. So anyway, Mark, how do you see it?
I don't think it's time to panic yet either. I think it's a concern, definitely, because you hate when you hire a director that you think was the right person for this project, and then they're not the person anymore. But I think that I agree with Christian. I think you have 2 years. There's plenty of time to find somebody else who's good, who can see the vision that Warner Brothers had. I have a lot of faith in their brain trust. Now, obviously, they don't have the track record yet that the MCU does, but Edgar Wright wasn't the only guy to leave early. I think that Thor: The Dark World had a different director, and then they had to bring somebody else in.
Wasn't it Matthew Vaughn?
No,
it wasn't Matthew Vaughn. It was.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I know that because Alan Ball wasn't always attached to that project, and I think that Alan Ball, the dude from Game of Thrones. So I think that when you have something like what Marvel set up or what DC set up, the director is always important, but there's a group of people sitting around that are making those very important decisions, and sometimes it doesn't always work with directors. She had a vision as what she wanted to do. It is odd that they hired her and then all of a sudden it changes course, but I tend to think that that's because something else happened in the DC universe, whether it was a casting decision or whether it was something else with one of their other films that's coming out in that world, that they needed to take Wonder Woman in a different direction that she didn't agree with. I think it's good that they made this move now. I actually think it shows some strength that they're like, look, this is our vision and we believe in this enough to kick somebody as reputable as this director off the project. So it's a concern. It's not time to panic yet.
Okay, just for the record, I wasn't crazy. Matthew Vaughn was attached to Thor.
Really?
And early in the
first
process.
Thor?
Yes.
Oh,
the first
okay. I was
Thor.
talking about Thor 2.
Oh, Thor 2.
Yeah.
Yes, like I said, I completely agree with you. I don't think it's time to panic. I think they have a lot of time to bring on a new director. Like I said, there's a half-decent coin flip of a chance here that we may end up with an even better director, and it may all work out for the best. Like I said, for me, just the worry part comes from how, like with Warner Brothers, go back a little bit further. They set an announce date. They are so prepared that they set an announce date and announce when Batman versus Superman's coming out. And then very shortly after that, it's like, oops, did we say this date? We meant this date. And they push it back a year. Now it's like, okay, we have a solid understanding of our universe. We're picking this woman to be our director. 5 months later, whoops, did we say this woman? We're on completely different pages. We're going different. That's the part that worries me a bit. But I think you're absolutely right. It is not time to panic. Lots of good can come out of this. And I think I might be overreacting to it a little bit. But I'm worried. I'm worried.
Hey, you're the guy wearing the suit, so I
know. Therefore, what I say is more credible. All right, what's next?
While we're on the topic of female superheroes, director Bryan Singer has announced that actress Olivia Munn will appear in the upcoming X-Men Apocalypse as the telepath Psylocke, formerly the twin sister of Captain Britain, who now inhabits the body of a Japanese ninja, was Archangel's love, and who died and resurrected as a dimension hopper. If you're a bit confused, you're not alone. Psylocke is complicated. Christian, what do you think of Olivia Munn joining X-Men Apocalypse?
I know we're not there yet, but I'll buy the picture that Ray made.
That's an awesome picture, by the way.
Goodness.
I don't want to be in Ray's apartment when he was making that picture. There was probably a lot of time went into that.
As far as Olivia Munn goes, I don't know. I'm not excited about it, and she's not a bad actress. She just hasn't. She's impressed me once with her acting ability so far, and that's been in Magic Mike. She was really good in that. I thought she just hasn't. And I can't blame her for Mordecai, because Mordecai was just horrendous in general. So everybody in that movie was brought down 20 notches. But I'm curious to see how she does. I don't think, like I said, I don't think she's a bad actress. I just don't get excited with her being involved. I think she's sexy. I think she could probably pull the role off. I just want to see a little bit more. And I never watched The Newsroom. I heard she's decent in The Newsroom. So yeah, I don't really care too much.
You know what? I'm totally good with this. Look, she was one of those people where she couldn't act to save her life for a long time, but that was like 5 years ago, maybe. And she's worked really hard, and over the course of 5 or 6 years, that she completely gave up everything else and just dedicated herself to acting. She has been getting better and better and better. I didn't think she was great in Magic Mike, but I thought she was good in Magic Mike. And then I thought she was actually quite good in Newsroom. That's where to me I started going, wow. And then she did this little indie film. I wish I could remember the name of it just this past year that I also watched. I thought she is really like coming into her own here. And so 4 years ago, you tell me they cast her in X-Men. I'm like, give me a break. Today, she's evolved, she's developed, she's worked hard at it, and the results are showing. So I'm actually pretty good with it.
No one casting in X-Men Apocalypse is going to really move the needle for me because there's so many characters in here. And what we saw from X-Men Days of Future Past is that even if you have somebody who might be a weak link, they're not going to be on screen for that long. I mean, Psylocke could factor into this universe very prominently because she does have psychic powers, I believe, in addition to being a Japanese ninja assassin, which is awesome. I think that Olivia Munn, I know her for being famous as much as I know her for being an actress, though. And so that's the only little red flag that I think would raise.
I heard she did some tweeting with Chris Pine at some point. I'm not sure.
I've seen her. I've seen her hanging out with Aaron Rodgers. You know, that's cool. But she also has a background in sketch comedy.
That's cool. Why not?
Look, I think that a comedic actress like this who has worked really hard to make a name for herself as a serious actress, and so her physicality is going to pay off, I think. And again, like to echo Christian and probably Ray's sentiments that he wrote in his diary last night, it's not going to be bad to look at her. There's going to be a lot of good Halloween costumes that come out of X-Men Apocalypse, if nothing else.
Cosplay.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for buy and sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Star of the upcoming Fantastic Four reboot, Miles Teller, has just joined on for the upcoming film Home is Burning. The film will be helmed by 50/50 and Warm Bodies director Jonathan Levine and is described as follows. Dan's mom has always had cancer. First diagnosed when he was only 10 years old, she was the model of resilience throughout his childhood, fighting her disease with tenacity and a mouth foul enough to make a sailor blush. But just as she faces a relapse, her husband is diagnosed with ALS. Dan, a recent college graduate living the good life in Los Angeles, has no choice but to return home to help. Teller will also serve as one of the producers on the film. Mark, buy or sell the sounds of Home is Burning.
I'm surprisingly going to buy this, and I would want to sell this premise so bad because it sounds like Nicholas Sparks. It sounds like, oh, we're going to give you cancer, but here comes ALS, and now it's a ghost wife with monkeypox. But it's actually not anything that sounds like it, because Miles Teller is that guy that he's producing stuff now, and he seems like this might be a role where he's really gunning for an Oscar. Now, whether he's going to hit that level, I don't know. What I'm buying this for mainly is Jonathan Levine as a director, because he knocked 50/50 so far out of the park, and he took something that could have been such a serious and downer movie, but he made light as well. I mean, 50/50 was the perfect title for that movie because you laughed and you cried. His use of Seth Rogen in that film really intrigues me to see what he can do with Miles Teller, because Miles Teller has been really good in some comedies, and he's missed the mark in some other comedies, and I think that he's going to bring his dramatic chops, but also a comedic side to this role. So I'm very intrigued to see where the script goes, to see if there's a lot of laughs or if this thing is just a total tearjerker for 2 hours. But with Levine directing it, that's why I'm buying it.
I'm actually going to buy this too. And as a side note, Schnepp and Dennis and I have talked for a while about wanting to go to Vegas for about 4 days and crank out an entire script in 4 days. We're still planning on doing that. And we had an idea, but I am now intrigued with this ghost wife with monkeypox idea. I'm totally sold on that.
Have at it. As long as you don't take our Aunt May idea, then you're good to go.
No, ghost wife with monkeypox, I think that's where the money is. Actually, when you read more about this story, too, it goes beyond that, because he also has siblings that are coming home too. And it sounds to me like one of those, we've seen this movie before, but one of these things where something in the family causes the family to come back together and work through their issues. And I got to tell you, I'm actually a little bit of a sucker for those types of movies. You throw into that You nailed it with the director. You throw into that a talent like Miles Teller right now, who's becoming a guy that most directors in this town want to work with. Aside from taking issue with, look, there are no recent college graduates living the high life in Los Angeles. Most of them are eating ramen like every single day. But aside from that, no, I like the sounds of this. So for me, it's a buy.
I sell my depression after I read the synopsis, but yeah, I buy the overall synopsis of it. And like Mark said, with the director and the fact it sounds like 50-50 meets Garden State almost, and
that's a good analogy.
And you have Miles Teller playing that role now, and yeah, I want to see, like you said, John, you could really put that family element. Who's the fan? Like for me, this is where I leave you. Is the most recent movie that dealt with that family drama. I really enjoyed that film. I know some people didn't, but I thought what they did well with bringing the family, adding the drama, but not just because this. From the sound of this, it could be very depressing, and I'm sure elements of it will be. But you have to also bring together what 50-50 did with that type of humor and those elements to with a talent like Miles Teller, and even the mother. The description of the mother as being the foul mouth and everything. Like that's a juicy role for an actress overall. So I want to see who they cast as the family. I want to see the back and forth. And yeah, because of the talent involved so far, let's get the monkeypox going.
All right, what's next?
The first official photo from the upcoming film Vacation is now online, which you can see here. In the film, the next generation of Griswolds is at it again and on the road for another ill-fated adventure. Following in his father's footsteps and hoping for some much-needed family bonding, a grown-up Rusty Griswold, Ed Helms, surprises his wife, Debbie, Christina Applegate, and their two sons with a cross-country trip back to America's favorite family fun park, Wally World. John Byers saw this first picture from Vacation.
You know, I gotta admit, I've been selling the whole notion of this movie for this whole time, and I just thought to myself, you know what? Watch, when I see the first clip or the first picture, and you know, if you got Chevy and Beverly in there, it's going to bring it all back. Nope, I still sell this thing. I want, and I hope this movie's going to be awesome. I hope this movie just is going to be one of those things where I walk in, I walk out so pleasantly surprised. But that's what's going to have to do. It's going to have to pleasantly surprise me. I cannot get over the Ed Helms part. Ed Helms, to me, after The Hangover, kind of proved he was a one-hit wonder. I haven't seen anything else that he's done that has made me laugh or chuckle. There was that one, again, he did with John C. Reilly, where he was like a salesman of some sorts. That wasn't too bad, but really, him now taking a lead in a film like this and putting a comedy on his shoulders, especially with a beloved title like Vacation, I'm not excited for it. I can't get excited for it. Fingers crossed it's going to be one of those big, pleasant surprise movies, but for now, for me, it's still a sell.
I believe it was at Cedar Rapids. Was that the movie?
Cedar Rapids. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and
I didn't mind that.
I liked him in that role, and I buy this picture. I mean, look, I love Vacation, and I think that when you're trying to remake or redo a classic '80s comedy, the only way to do it right is to incorporate elements of the first one. So don't just reboot it and act like it never happened. And that's what this is doing. You're going to get cameos, or maybe a little bit meatier role for Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo. The only thing that I'm definitely going to miss is Randy Quaid as Cousin Ed, because nobody knows where Randy Quaid is.
They're going to find him at Wally World.
He might be like under a bridge that they drive by somewhere. I mean, I think Ed Helms is perfect casting as Rusty. From seeing Rusty grow up in the original Vacation movies, that they knocked that out of the park. Him and Christina Applegate, I'm sure, are going to have a hilarious dynamic. The fact that they have two sons, I'm like, okay, that's different. I loved that it was Rusty and his sister in the original ones, that it was a boy and a girl that were going back and forth at each other. So seeing this sibling rivalry is going to be different than in the first one, but I'm buying this because I think Ed Helms is going to be great.
Christian.
I'm buying it for something you haven't even mentioned it. The car. It's the classic car.
Good point.
I gotta buy the car. I mean, that car went through everything in the first one. They're bringing it back. That's the star of that picture. That's also how they should have announced the movie. By the way,
that's a great point.
That's what I would have liked to see. Like out of nowhere, there's like, guess what's coming, and then you see all of them together. Then you see Ed Helms and the whole crew. Well, who's he? Who's he? The car is why I buy this picture. But the fact, and I love Chevy Chase's hair. I don't know what's going on with it, but I buy his hair. And overall, I really want to see this movie. I do like Ed Helms. I agree with you, Mark. I think that as Rusty, if it was a remake and he was playing Clark, no.
And that's why I sold it initially, because I thought that they were trying to make him into that role.
He's not Clark. But he can be Rusty. And I can see those conversations. One of my favorite moments is when Rusty and Clark have that conversation when they break down in the desert. And it's just like a good talk type conversation. I can see these two having that. I hope Chevy Chase has more of a role because I want to see him do something again. And Beverly D'Angelo for 50, 60, whatever she is, looks great.
Oh yeah, she does look great. And while I still think we're just going to see Andy from The Office in this thing, you have you've changed my vote. I'm switching my sell to a buy because you're right. The car sells it. I'm ashamed of myself that I overlooked it. You're absolutely right.
That's not the car I really need to see though. Is Christy Brinkley going to be driving that red sports car? Should she make a cameo in this
Teeth
film?
fall out or something.
Kristen George.
Sold.
What was that?
She's sold now.
Just complimented Beverly D'Angelo. They're going to kill Christy Brinkley.
No, but Beverly D'Angelo.
All right, what's next?
Speaking of first photos, actor Ben Stiller has taken to his Instagram account to post the first picture of himself as Zoolander and Zoolander's son being played by actor Cyrus Arnold. In addition to Stiller and Arnold, Zoolander 2 will see the return of Owen Wilson and Christine Taylor from the first film. It's also speculated that Will Ferrell will return as Mugatu. Christian Bauer saw this image of Zoolander and his son.
Strangely enough, I'm buying the picture because the kid is fantastic. That is awesome. That hair, and again, you're talking about his hair next to Chevy Chase's hair. It's just amazing hair today. I don't care about the movie. I didn't care about Zoolander. I know that I'm in the minority. I know people love Zoolander, but we're talking about the image. And if I'm a Zoolander fan and I see my character that I really dug, and he's sitting next to this kid with this stink face and the Beatles haircut. I mean, he's got Javier Bardem's haircut from No Country for Old Men. So the image alone, I would be excited for if I was a Zoolander fan.
I really dig the picture, especially as like an initial kind of revealing to the world type of thing. You're right. I love the look of the kid. I really do. Ben Stiller is drinking virgin blood apparently because he looks like maybe a week older than he did in the first Zoolander. I'm not really sure. He's still sporting the style. And I am one of those guys. I'm one of those suckers that I absolutely adored the first Zoolander. Made me laugh a lot. So for me, I'm going to buy it.
I'm going to sell it. And I'll tell you why. It's because usually if a comedy is coming out 10 years later after the first one, it needs to mature, it needs to grow, and you need to have, now he's a father, and now he's taking care of a kid, and he's got real human responsibilities. I didn't need that with Zoolander. Zoolander is such a silly, ridiculous farce to me. It makes me laugh for that reason. So I hope that this isn't an indication that we're going to tackle some serious family drama. I know we're probably
Dr. Evil had a kid.
I know Dr. Evil had a kid. I realized Dr. Evil, but he had a kid right off the bat. They didn't bring in a kid to make it better in the sequel. So I can just see another 90 minutes of those idiots running around the same way they did in the first one. I hope that they don't try to do anything too different with this. So I'm still very excited about Zoolander 2. I love the way that they announced the film on the runway in Paris.
That was great.
This particular image, I just sell.
You know, one of the things too for me is the Will Ferrell thing is going to be a big deal to me because honestly enough, Mugatu is my favorite Will Ferrell character. I like him as Mugatu more than any, and I love a lot of Will Ferrell characters, but Mugatu for me just crushes it. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Look, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Maybe you'll see your question answered on AMC Movie Talk, maybe on our weekend Mailbag show. So for now, let's see what's in the mailbag. So Ashley, what do we got?
Armando Dye writes, "Hey guys, great show, big fan. Is Arnold going to make another Conan the Barbarian movie? Just wondering."
He says he is. Look, there are wheels in motion. I mean, we know there's been at least a draft done. We know we've heard we've heard Arnold talk about it, that he's going to now play the aged warrior and all
King
that
Conan,
kind of the King Conan premise and stuff like that. Now, I haven't heard anything new in about 6 months. And I think that comment I just quoted from Schwarzenegger was from about 6 months ago. That's the last I heard of it. From what I understand, the wheels are still in motion. I haven't heard anything new. Have you heard anything else?
You know when you're going to hear something else? Right after the box office numbers come out for Terminator.
Good point.
That's when you're going to hear it. And I mean, and he's got Maggie that's coming out.
Which looks great, I
think. It looks
think.
great,
Yeah.
but it's a smaller movie.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We don't really know, but we'll see how the box office numbers go for Terminator, even if it's not necessarily on his fault or not. If the movie stinks, not really his fault, but it doesn't matter. It's still because he hasn't had that many box office returns as of late.
Yeah.
But I think that's when I want to see it. I think it'd be really cool. I want to see Arnold go more into the John Milius version of the first Conan. Like that the first one's the best, obviously. So I would love to see King Conan. I think that actually would work for him. But yeah, let's see what happens with Terminator.
I think regardless of quality, I don't think Maggie's going to crush at the box office.
Right.
It might be a great film that not a lot of people see, which is kind of how I felt about The Last Stand. I love that as an action movie, but not a lot of people saw it. So Arnold knows that he needs a franchise to really get big box office numbers, which is hopefully Terminator is really good, and hopefully that's what Terminator does. But if you guys could see him revitalize any one of his other franchises, is Conan the one that you want him doing? Or is it something like, I think that there's a Predator story in there somewhere with him coming back. That'd be the number one movie that Mark Ellis, would want him to come back to. I don't care about Conan. I never cared about it as a kid. So him as an Age Warrior is a good idea. They really blew it because they had a great Conan cast for this remake, and the remake was so bad that you're never going to see that dude again.
But you know who blew it was Arnold's team when he made his initial comeback, because Conan, Predator, those should have been the ones that he came up with right away, because that's what Stallone did. Stallone did Rambo and Rocky and said, hey, I'm back, guys. And okay. And even though all his other movies have been stinkers, Stallone, doesn't matter, because those two produced numbers. And when you come back with The Last Stand, I think they said, oh, it's Arnold. No one cares because Arnold's been gone for so long. So but I disagree, though, on the Conan, to me, in the grittiness and the way that John Milius did it originally. If they could do that again, because the second Destroyer is silly. That's another.
You didn't like Wilt Chamberlain? What?
Yeah, they dropped down to PG-13, I think, too. And that was another. And then Red Sonja, which is kind of it wasn't necessarily Conan, but it was.
But you need another, because Momoa's not coming back to that, right?
No,
he's not.
No, but those were different. Also, I mean, the Momoa one was based off of the comic, and I think that Conan was a little bit skewed. The one that
I mean, I'm with Christian on this. I think Conan is the vehicle to come back on. So we have a little disagreement, but the one thing we can all agree on at this table is that we all love the Terminator Salvation or Terminator Genesis
that
trailer.
Is untrue.
That is
untrue.
You're wearing the suit. I trust you. I wouldn't say that.
I've never wanted to be here. I was trying to drive here yesterday. I gotta get to Movie Talk. Gotta get there.
All right, what's next?
James Walsh writes, hello AMC, and thanks for taking my question. With Furious 7 making over $800 million in a little under 2 weeks, do you think it stands a chance to knock Avatar off the top spot as the highest grossing movie of all time?
No, it doesn't have a chance at that. And remember, movies will make probably about 70% of their money in the first 2 weeks. And look, I think the general consensus, you may have a different opinion, that's totally cool. I think the general consensus is Fast and Furious 7 is really good. It's not as good as 5, it's not as good as 6, but it's good. It's not the type of quality that I think you're going to walk out of theater having have a good time. You might even go back to see it one more time, but it's not one of those movies you're going to go back and watch it. At least most people are not going to go back and watch it 6, 7 times and drag every one of their friends to go see it. You know, when you're talking about films that hit the $2 billion worldwide mark, Fast and Furious is just not that movie. It's going to cross the $1 billion mark. It's going to join the $1 billion club for sure. It'll be the first one in the Fast and Furious franchise to do it. And you know, rightfully so. I'm happy for its success, and I like the movie quite a bit. But reaching those numbers, I wouldn't even give it a 5% chance of doing that. Anyway, Christian, how do you see it?
No, I agree with you. I think because with Avatar, right? Avatar had a lot of things going for it. If you can hit gold in December like Avatar did, right, it didn't have a lot of competition going forward. And it also had the big event of the fact that it was the start of the 3D craze. It added some extra dollars. It was shot very differently. It was a return for James Cameron. It had a lot of factors really going for it, and it carried into January and even February. Fast won't do that. Furious won't do that because the Avengers is right around the corner, and that will start picking numbers off of it. But the fact that it made the amount of money that it did,
crazy good.
I mean, no one expected it to do that much. But I also agree that it's not as good as 5 and 6, but what it accomplished so far is all in itself. Now, the Avengers is another story. We don't know if the Avengers. It's going to be hard for the Avengers to beat Avatar, but I think that's got a shot.
I don't think it does, simply because what you just said is that there's so much competition in summer, whereas I think the movie that could do it is Star Wars, because Star Wars comes out, again, it could be a groundbreaking cinematic event like what Avatar was. Furious 7 isn't that. It's a really fun movie that a lot of people wanted to see for a variety of reasons, but even Avengers is going to have to go against something like Mad Max a couple weeks down the road, and then it's even going to be cannibalizing itself when Ant-Man comes out later on in July, so it's just not going to have the run that you would get in December if something really catches fire. Having said all that, I know Furious 7 for a fact is going to make at least $12 more because I still haven't seen it yet. How have I not seen Furious 7 yet?
You wanted to go see Van Halen? Yeah, he went to go see Van Halen. He chose it.
All right, folks, so that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank, first of all, the guy sitting at the table with me, sitting over here on my left, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you online?
Yeah, 5150 Ellis is the Instagram and Twitter. Just announced new tour dates, and I'll be at Star Wars Celebration, maybe with some other members of this panel later this week.
Sitting over here, Mr. Christian Harloff, host of AMC Jedi Council. Christian, where can people find you?
Well, you can definitely find myself and John and Maude and Mark. We're going to be at Star Wars Celebration this weekend. Not only if you're there, obviously come by, say hello, but Jedi Council will be taping from Celebration. That's where the episode is going to be this week. Very excited for it. Follow me at Christian Harloff on both Twitter and Instagram for updates from Celebration.
Our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you?
Twitter and Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Tuesday, guys.
And of course, you can find me on Twitter and on Facebook. Just follow me at John Campia. Listen, guys, don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find our podcast link. And don't forget to click the thumbs up button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks for joining us. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, I'm looking sharp.